Welcome back to Fred Jr.'s Garage, and in today's video, we're going to see if we can save this Predator 3500 from the junkyard. Our generator is in pretty bad shape. On the last day of our camping trip, I had a pretty epic failure, and one of our valve spring retainers broke, and I'm pretty sure that's when I tracked down the problem too. So today, we're going to swap out the valve spring retainer and see if we can get this generator to fire back up. First things first, we need to get some air into the cylinder on this, so we're going to take the spark plug out and put our air chuck in there. That way it'll hold the valves up and we can get some new spring retainers on there instead of our trusty clamps that we have here. It keeps our valves up and we can put new springs and retainers on them. But our generator was running just fine until it wasn't. It didn't suffer any loud kabangs, nothing like that. It sounded like it ran just right out of gas. To add air into the cylinder on this, I'm just using the hose off my compression tester. One end is threaded to go into the spark plug hole of the head, and on the other end, it just has an air chuck fitting that we're going to connect to the air hose. All right, let's get some air hooked up to this. I don't have a whole lot of air in there. It's only like 10-15 PSI, but that's enough to keep those valves up so I can get new springs and new retainers on them. And speaking of failure points, that's our old one, and you can see in the center that it's a pretty big difference here. And the second one, and that is our new one. So it just punched out the center of that retainer. And the intake side wasn't all the way there, but you can see the indentation on there, that it was starting to do the same thing. So we're not going to take the head off and put the new valves in, but the kit that I bought does come with new valves. Let's get some spring and retainers on there, and then see if we can get this thing back together and fired up. So I did a little research on the internet before I started buying parts, and I'm not the first person to have this problem. Big old fingers in there. All that fits in there much nicer than the other. Those fit on there nice and snug. And then you put those caps right on top of the valve, and those just hold it all together in place. So when I was doing my research on this, I found that the valve springs on this use two different types of caps. Obviously, this is the original type of cap that came on this generator because this is an early model generator. It doesn't have any of the CO stuff on there. So when they came out with the new style, they got rid of this and went to a different style cap. That tells me that these are known failure points. Now, we got to reset the lash on these. We've got our push rods, and they don't take a whole lot of force just to... And you can see the cup down in there too. You just make sure you got them seated in there. Now we can disconnect our air hose. Let's get our valve lash set on this. Make sure this is at top dead center. And I'm going to show you how to set the valve lash as well. For this part, we're slowly going to pull the crank handle until we get to top dead center. We're going to watch the valves to make sure that we're at the compression stroke. And now we're at the top. The other nice thing about these Predators is they give you all the specs in the manual. First page, right off the bat. The intake is 0.4 and 0.6 thousandths, and the exhaust is 0.6 to 0.8 thousandths. We're gonna go for the middle on both and go for 0.5 and 0.7. Let's get our feeler gauge and I'll show you how we do it. When you set the valves on these, you just wanna be able to take the feeler gauge and make sure that it has just enough room to slip in between the two. That's pretty much where you want it right there. You can kind of feel in between there too, and this is just a square head. So we're gonna go ahead and turn that down. We're gonna slip our 9mm on here. We're gonna hold the top, keep it from moving, and just kind of tighten it down. And after we set this, we're gonna crank it over by hand a couple times just to make sure that everything looks good. And the same thing, stick that in between there. That feels good right there. Spin that down, and we're gonna do the same thing. Put that on there. Make sure you keep a hold of that top so it doesn't over tighten it. That feels better on there. All right, let's crank it over again and double check. See, our exhaust is going down. Now we're on our intake stroke. Intake is good. Exhaust feels good too. All right. Let's put our spark plug back in here and see if it'll fire up. I'll put a link for all the parts that we're using today from Harbor Freight's parts website in the description below. So if you need service parts, that's where to go to get them. Now let's go ahead and turn the fuel back on. And one of the modifications that we made to this is that we took a petcock that had a fuel valve on it and installed. That way, I can shut the fuel off and let the generator run out of gas so there's no fuel left sitting in the carb's fuel bowl. All right, our fuel's on. Let's see if it'll turn over and fire. Oh, we got a winner. Let's put the valve cover back on this thing and let it run for a little bit. All right, we've got our new gasket. Make sure that our crankcase vent line's on there. I'm very excited about this. I thought for sure that this generator was done for. I was not looking forward to it. As soon as I found that broken valve spring retainer in there, I'm like, oh man. Did I mention that I'm very excited about this? Man, that's got to kick down into low or on eco mode, and it's just purring away. Now that this generator's back in service again, I'm ready to go camping, and make sure you check out some of our other videos.